So I'm calling who I believe to be the Liver Association, and my phone connects to a guy in Santa Barbara. And I start talking to him, and I'm like, wait, is this the foundation of, and he goes, no, he goes, but I heal livers. And I was like, what? I was completely blown away. So anyways, we spend 4 hours on the phone, and I'm telling him everything going on. And he's like, you are so spot on. I'm just going to give you a couple little things that you can do, and literally for cirrhosis, not just for somebody who's got sluggish fatty liver disease. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. So long story short, I start this process, and we go for about 3 months. Kenneth is taking pills. He's doing everything, spot on. And we go in, and we now have a new doctor. I'm just kind of sitting there going like, what are we going to do about this? Now we're just like maybe 4 months past the diagnosis, and they had said 30 to 90 days. So I'm thinking, every day, every time we get in the car, I'm like, is this going to be our last trip? So he goes, okay, there's some dramatic improvement. His blood work is normal. His lipid panel, his triglycerides, everything is where it's supposed to be. And I said, oh, okay. And then he goes, but I need to know, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I kind of like stumbled a little bit. And I said, you're not going to want to know this. And he goes, no, I want to know exactly what you're doing, because this man was a walking dead man. And this man, I think he's 64 at the time, or 62. He goes, now he's like a 32-year-old man. His metabolic age and everything, this is not his blood work. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to like me. And I said, we are full carnivore, and this is what he's doing. And he goes, I'm a carnivore doctor.
Coach Lisa and
Yes,
Ken,
sir.
Yes.
welcome, and thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you for having us.
We're going to talk everything about health and wellness for women and men,
All right.
which I think is one of the most important things for all of us. And so many men are suffering, and so many women are suffering. And how have you brought an idea of life back systems?
So over the years, we become extremely congested in our liver. And this leads to losing your life. And it's typically somewhere around that 40-year mark, maybe 38 years, 42 years. Men hit midlife crisis, women hit menopause, and things go sideways. And there are so many studies out there directly related to the liver that are health conditions that we are all suffering from, whether you're male or female. But at the end of the day, if we get to the root cause of all things and we don't deal with it, it's that underlying, it's like having a garden, but you can't get to the bottom roots, right? You got to rip it all up, turn it all over. And it's the same thing inside of our body. If we do not deal with that liver first and foremost, the rest kind of falls apart.
Maybe you just tell some of our listeners who may not know you yet a little bit about yourselves and how you got to this health and wellness journey.
I'll make it really short in a nutshell. But so Ken and I were high school sweethearts, and
It's a love story now.
it is a love story.
it's all a love
It is
story, right,
definitely
Ken?
The Notebook. And he went off to the Air Force with the "I'll be back." We'll put a little Arnold in there. And I was like, "Oh yeah,
I
of
said
course
it
you're not
before.
going to
He said
die."
it, though.
Yeah, you did say it long before Arnold.
Long before.
And
Just not the same way with the Austrian accent.
Yeah.
So I went to Vegas, got married, lived a life, and during that time frame, at the end of that 45 years where we reconnected, my life was pretty crazy, to be honest with you. From nutrition to owning health clubs, to being a bodybuilder, to being a mom, to having extreme obesity, extreme sickness, not even being able to walk. Never, ever, not one time, even after gallbladder removal, was I ever told that there's something wrong with your liver. Never, not one day. And then, of course, I went through the death of my husband through that. And a year later on that date, Ken and I connected, and it's been amazing. However, a year after that, a year and 5 months, we had planned to get married. And we got on the property 45 minutes later. I'm going to make a really long story short for you, but it was pretty intense. I couldn't run. I couldn't walk. They were yelling from the back of the barn, Ken's had a stroke.
Wow.
And I'm like, what do you mean he's had a stroke?
Yeah.
he can't have a stroke. We're getting married, right? Like, I just went through this. I can't do this again. And of course, I'm bawling my eyes out. I lost my mind. I really just was so not stable with the whole panic and the anxiety. Everything was just out of sideways. But he still loved me, which was the greatest part. And so we ended up in the hospital, 3 grand mal seizures. And then they kept saying there's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with him. And finally, after really pushing, a nurse practitioner sat down with the two of us, and she said, well, he has liver cirrhosis, and he's got maybe 30 to 90 days to live, and he can never touch alcohol again. So, of course, here we are. He's kind of dazed and confused, to put it nicely, in bed.
I wasn't dazed and confused. I was listening to her, but I
Yeah.
had already tuned out what she said and started my own process.
Yeah.
Okay, how am I going to deal with this now?
Well, and I love what he says all the time. He said something about being an officer, and especially in SWAT and being a sniper is, and you said it perfectly the other day about a friend of ours who's very sick. And he said, your body is trained immediately to go into like a self-defense mechanism. And you go to plan B, plan C, you got it, survival. And that's what was going on when he was laying in that bed, right?
Your mind, basically.
Yeah.
Not necessarily your body, but
And we were
your
getting
mind
married the
takes
next
over.
day.
Well, it's okay. Keep on the story. Let me not interrupt yet.
So here we are, we go ahead and we get married. I was like, no, let's not do that. That's like way too much stress or whatever. And literally like my health story, Dr. Kiltz, on that, this is like, I laughed, but I was really crying inside and thinking about it. I could cry right now. I could not get my boots on my feet to walk down the aisle to marry somebody who I'd loved for well over 47 years, always wanted to marry. And God brought that opportunity back, and I didn't have a life. I was like he loved me the way I was, thank God. But I don't even know how that happens. But anyways, I was just like, I literally could not get my boots on to walk down. And it was only, we got married on a property, but I couldn't get my feet in my boots. Not only were they cramping, they were swollen. I'm a size 8, they were a size 10 boot, and I could not get my foot in there.
What other physical ailments were you suffering from?
A to Z, like a lot. It started a long time ago, but obesity, obviously. I had liver disease. I lost my gallbladder, lost my appendix, lost tonsils and adenoids, and then hyperthyroidism. And only a very small percent, usually 2% of people who have hyperthyroidism get obese. So I got even bigger after I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. And they were like, your body is about 88, 89 years old. If you don't go on this medication, you're going to die. That's like literally at the end of the time frame.
And what was the game changer?
His cirrhosis. And it was
Yeah.
literally a divine moment.
For both of us that day.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
like okay, you get a certain divine intervention every once in a while in your life, and if you don't recognize it, then you wind up meeting your maker, and otherwise you press on and you move. What do we need to do to make our life better? And we still had young kids, teenage kids, high school age, and they count on you. And it wasn't time for us to leave yet, this earth. So, yeah, you get a real good gut check, reality check, and move on from there.
Why did you get cirrhosis?
Oh, I had years of practice at that. The lifestyle that I lived from high school through the military and then 32 years on the police department is all built around a culture, and that culture is generally drinking at some stage during the day or after an event or something like that, or a promotion, something along that process of, you're going to consume alcohol at some point. Your vacations are based around it, whether it's water skiing or doing something like that, but it's always involves the drinking part of, that's the fun.
You were in the military and also police force.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
Well, I joined the military right out of high school. I actually enlisted before graduating. And that's when I told Lisa, okay, I'll be back. Went off to basic training, Lackland Air Force Base, and I spent 6 years total time Air Force, and Air National Guard, California Air National Guard. I was a load master on a C-130, so I was basically a world traveler. I went wherever the airplane went. And again, that was when you landed, then that day's over with. It's time to kick up our heels and you go to the NCO club, you go to whatever the local establishment was that was the hot place in town. Take that forward. After a few years, I applied for Los Angeles Police Department after a little radio communication, and I get hired by them, and that was my career.
Wow. And
through the process of that, many different jobs, but the last 22 years of the job was working the SWAT team. And you keep yourself fit, but you also live very hard. You don't sleep. You don't eat all the time. Drinking is probably a way of dispensing with a lot of grief sometimes.
Huge.
There's quite a few things that you see that you wish you never saw in that whole lifestyle. And then there's great things that happen too. Don't get me wrong, but it's not an easy lifestyle.
So the physical work to keep you healthy, but the mental side effects that can take you down, and we all seek something to sort of calm the anger or whatever else is going on, the sadness or
whatever
hardships,
whatever you're feeling.
Now Ken and I have some because I grew up in L.A. And
I know where you hang
I was
out.
kicked out of school in a gang, couldn't read, and a policeman, LAPD policeman, took me in, and he said, "You got two choices," and he supported me in helping me get out of the gang and change my life around. So I honor the LA Police Department and all police officers out there. So the liver, and I know Lisa and I love the liver, and so how did you turn Ken's liver damage around?
Well, so that moment when the woman had, basically said, "Are you a drinker? What's your past life look like?" And if you would have seen his body then and today, you wouldn't have known it was a sick body. There was no symptoms, none, zero. The only one thing that was always a little bit mysterious to me was that he was on blood pressure medication. So blood pressure is absolutely related right back to the liver. And then later, there was a call about some possible anemia going on. And I'm like, "You shouldn't have anemia. You're not leaking blood anywhere. You don't." And the guy goes, "Oh, maybe there's a doctor. Maybe there's some in your stools. Go get a colonoscopy. You'll be fine." Right? Everybody just wants to throw something out there. And when that went down at that moment, which he was just explaining to you, he looked at me and he looked at her and she looked at me and she said, "Never can he have another sip of alcohol, not even a sip." And of course I looked at him and I'm like, "Where are we at with this? I'm not your mother, right? I'm here to be your best friend. I'm here to be your wife. I will help you walk this road. I'll do everything I possibly can because I've waited all these years to be with you. So yeah, I'm ready, right?" And he looked at me and he said, "I love you and I want to be here for you and I want to be here for my kids." And like literally having the offspring and knowing that they were young. I mean, nobody wants to die. And Kenneth loves my daughter. It's his daughter. She's not even fully my daughter anymore. And she was emotional too. I mean, like a wreck, because she was like, "I can't lose him. Like this can't happen." And so I dug deep into the root cause of everything they wrote down. And they didn't want to say it had anything to do with the liver. They said none of this.
They made it sound like it was a neurological problem.
Totally neurological.
So I'm visiting
Mayo
Henry Mayo for neurological problems, and it was almost as much as they were giving me an FST to see if I was drunk. And I can do all these dexterity issues and touch my toes. None of that had anything to do with it. And it was frustrating for me because I knew there was nothing wrong with me in that regard. But
yeah, I mean, even as far as like, we're going to take your license, we're going to do this, you can't.
And medication.
Yeah, and medication. Like, I think in the
I'm
beginning it was like 3 to 6 pills a day.
I didn't.
And this was for the grand mal seizures?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
They're thinking it's a neurological problem, not necessarily the liver problem.
It was huge.
So what is the problem?
The problem is the liver. And
What is the liver? What's the liver's function?
well, we know what its ultimate function is, and that is to bring in and process the fats so that we can have fat in our body, which is the insulin, which we need. Okay. So the problem is that Kenneth ate extremely healthy Mediterranean type, little pasta here, little rice here, super Caesar chicken salads, very clean. Oh my word, this man wouldn't eat something dirty
Clean,
if it was.
organic,
Oh
healthy.
yes,
all this-
100%.
Meat, fish, chicken,
Veggies.
Yeah.
always the main part of the meal.
He makes some. He's a chef. He makes some killer recipes of that nature, and no doubt that is what. Yes, alcohol is bad. We're not going to lie about that, right? Like it is what it is. But would the alcohol alone gotten him to where he was? No, absolutely not.
Well, I agree with you tremendously. This is why I connect with Lisa so many ways, because very few people will say the cause is the liver. And the liver gets damaged, the rest of the body gets damaged.
Yes.
And I've always said that the main function of the liver is to make fat, and the secondary function of the liver is to detoxify. Now, the question is, detoxify what? And I'm just wondering, number one, if we eat a plant protein diet, which is lean meat and lots of vegetables, Mediterranean,
Yeah.
our bowels are making alcohol.
Correct.
The day you're born, the day you die. It's not what you drink. It's what your body makes due to a healthy diet. And I'm wondering if the alcohol made from fermentation, along with the other plant toxins, damage the liver, which then allows the rest of the body to become damaged.
So you brought up two facts here. So first of all, your liver is the powerhouse of your entire body, and that detoxification is the key to your health, right? So just imagine your vehicle. I lived off a 5-mile dirt road, and I literally was every 4 weeks having to take out my filter and either blow it or go buy a new one at $200 and some bucks on a Dodge Dually, right? And I'm like, why is my filter always so dirty? Well, hello, common sense. You're driving on a dirt road. It gets caught up in there. It's not able to filter it through, slows down the filtration of the fuel, and everything else goes to pot, right? Well, that's the same with the liver in your body. If you do not keep your liver clean and functioning, it starts off sluggish, maybe fatty, then we go fibrosis or hepatic, then we get into scar tissue, and the scar tissue doesn't slow down, right? It's just constantly wanting to take over this football-shaped organ. The greatest part is that the organ is striving for life out the other side or wherever it can find an opening to grow more liver, which is why, as you all know, I could give away half my liver or 3/4 of my liver, and my liver will grow another liver. So we're extremely blessed. I have a client yesterday. We were getting a little bit deeper into her cirrhosis, and I said, well, how did you get to this point, do you think? And she said, my mother was an alcoholic. I have never drank alcohol in my entire life, but I absolutely she's classified as a 4-stage cirrhosis patient. She said, do you think there's any hope? I said, absolutely. Your liver is the seat of life. It is the organ of life. Henceforth, how we got life back, right?
Liver.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I like to say live or. If you're not living, you're
Right,
going to be
right,
dying, right? And I agree with you 100%. We're all going home, but let's not accelerate it, right?
He'll take us when it's time.
Yeah,
He knows.
exactly.
He knows.
And I also tell people, just so that you can know this too, if I die today, at 65 years old, please do not blame the meat. I tell people every day, you better be at my funeral or on the internet or on social media or whatever saying, look, it was just her time. She did everything she could, and God still said it's time for you to come home, because I've never been healthier in my entire existence than I am as a carnivore woman.
And me at 69, I've never felt better in my life on this carnivore lifestyle. Tell us a little bit about how you become a carnivore, or where you're at in your nutritional place, and how you guys incorporate a diet that is different than what we've been taught to eat.
So for Kenneth, it was pretty, when the cirrhosis was diagnosed, I wasn't happy with just, to be honest with you, I was like, okay, we're going to juice. We're going to do liver detoxes. We're going to do gallbladder detoxes. We're going to flush. We're going to olive oil. We're going to take all the pills, the tinctures. We're going to find every oil we possibly can.
Laundry detergent, different.
Yeah, and that was really good.
Everything we're going to detoxify the whole house.
Right,
basically.
because if we can detoxify from the outside coming in, then the liver can start to detox from the inside coming out. That really was the foundation of that. However, being a vegan and being in, like bodybuilding and all this stuff, I'm like, okay, maybe it's not working for me anymore because I'm broken, but I'm pretty sure it'll work for him. So I just literally, we went out and spent, I don't even know, a couple $1,000s on buying our own bags of all these fruits and vegetables and juicing and, doing like 8 juices a day.
That didn't work.
And then we made liver tinctures. We did liver tonics, like literally you name it. And the first blood work was not showing much improvement. As a matter of fact, he said, this guy's got like a leg and a half in a grave and it's not looking super good. So at that point, Kenneth wasn't rebellious to it, but he definitely was not on board to giving up his way of eating. Mediterranean, very clean. He loves being in the kitchen. But at that point, I'm like, okay, I made a phone call to the Liver Association. And that phone call never made it to them. But instead, I either misdialed, I dialed the wrong number. I don't know what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Major, like spiritual divine intervention. So I'm calling who I believe to be the Liver Association. And my phone connects to a guy in Santa Barbara. And I start talking to him and I'm like, wait, is this the foundation of, and he goes, no, but I heal livers. And I was like, what? I was completely blown away.
Whoa.
So anyways, we spent 4 hours on the phone and I'm telling him everything going on. And he's like, you are so spot on. I'm just going to give you a couple little things that you can do and literally for cirrhosis, not just for somebody who's got sluggish fatty liver disease. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. So long story short, I start this process and we go for about 3 months. Kenneth is taking pills. He's doing everything, spot on. And we go in and we now have a new doctor.
Vitamins, not pills.
Yeah, not no medication.
Okay.
Yeah, just
medication,
supplements.
Definitely no.
Just supplements. Like milk thistle and I don't even remember everything what I was shoving down his throat and I'm like, you got to take this one and you got to take this one. And I was a supplement junkie and a rich supplement junkie. It's like the better it's manufactured, not even worrying if it's third party tested. If it costs more, it's better, right? Like I was on that journey. And so he has insurance stuff. I never had insurance the whole time I was sick, and now he has insurance. So we're trying to find a new doctor. And one of his buddies goes, oh, I really like this guy. You should hook up with him. So we go in and we see him, and he doesn't have anything to say about the liver. And I'm like the little 5-year-old sitting there in kindergarten going, teacher, he isn't telling you the truth. You need to know everything, And yet he has the blood work in front of him. So obviously he knows everything. But I'm like, I'm just kind of sitting there going like, what are we going to do about this? Now we're just like maybe 4 months past the diagnosis. And they had said 30 to 90 days. So I'm thinking, every day, every time we get in the car, I'm like, is this going to be our last trip?
That was 4 years ago, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yesterday, not long ago. Wow.
What's that?
Yeah. Not long ago.
No, but at the same time, they said 90 days. And
we're 4 years. Right.
Yeah. And this goes back to if we both died for any unknown reason, it was not the liver. I'm just telling you straight up.
I've always said doctors are very poor at predicting much of anything.
Yeah, I agree.
They're like, even like, you're healthy, you'll be fine, and then you're not. So
no offense, but I just don't like doctors. Period.
Except Ken and I get along really well. Yeah. I love this man. No, I could see he loves steak and he cooks a great steak. I always see the meat he cooks with. Oh, amazing.
And so when I called back to the doctor, he said he was fixing some frozen pipes, and he goes, "Ask Ken if it's okay if I talk to you." At least whatever it was
underneath the porch.
Yeah, and Ken from the doorway goes, "Yeah, he can talk to you." I don't, because he didn't want to talk to him anyways. So he goes, "Okay, there's some dramatic improvement. His blood work is normal. His lipid panel, his triglycerides, everything is where it's supposed to be." And I said, "Oh, okay." And then he goes, "But I need to know, what are you doing?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I kind of like stumbled a little bit. And I said, you're not you're not going to want to know this. And he goes, no, I want to know exactly what you're doing, because this man was a walking dead man. And this man, I think he's 64 at the time, or 62. He goes, now he's like a 32-year-old man. His metabolic age and everything, this is not his blood work. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to like me. And I said, we are full carnivore, and this is what he's doing. And he goes, I'm a carnivore doctor. Yeah. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, my wife, my children, myself, we've never eaten anything off carnivore from birth. Like, literally, I can't practice it or talk about it, but don't you stop doing what you're doing. And I was just like, yeah. All right, Ken, you hear, the doctor has now approved this formula. Yeah. So then, long story short, it just proceeded on. People around us were like, wow, what are you guys doing? Like, Lisa, you lost 130 pounds. What's going on? What are you doing? And I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like sometimes the people that are the closest to us actually run the furthest away. They don't really, they like you, but they aren't really buying into your program. It's like, this is another cult or another issue or whatever,
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Exactly.
Not yet.
Right. Because, and then, and I think we both read a lot of the similar books as well, but it's like, at first they watch you, then they mock you, and then they ask you for help, right?
Yeah. Because we were there in some way. We're all on the same journey, trying to figure it all out, what's going on. And would you say, you've been in the health industry for a long time.
47 years.
What have you noticed differently about today versus 47 years ago?
Well, first and foremost, if we go back, like yourself, into the 60s and 70s, we were a lot more home fed, and food was a lot less processed, right? So I noticed that over the years of being like in the fitness industry, the health and fitness and wellness, running wellness clubs and taking care of that, I've really noticed that the addiction, and I know that word is touchy, but the supplementing of prescription drugs, like pop another Advil, take another pain pill, this is also killing the liver. So not only was the food a problem, but everything that they're suggesting that we take to get rid of these ailments, right, is also killing the liver right alongside the food. But what I've noticed the most is that people actually buy what they're sold. Oh no, my doctor says I have that, I have to do it. Like, are you a drone? I'm not really sure. Who's controlling your brain?
Well, I was thinking about this recently, and I think about it a lot, because we are trained to believe the doctors and the professors and the priests and the politicians. We're sort of trained, even in military and in police. All we're trained to sort of have a respect for those who have
rank structure.
Structure. That's probably the best. I was almost going to say, I don't know if I
think it's
use
authority.
The word knowledge, but it's
more of a rank structure.
Rank.
Yeah.
You've been given a rank.
If you're a professional or you're an expert at that particular job, then you are the person that I need to talk to about that.
And we don't question rank, because if you question rank,
you're
in trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
I might know a little bit about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so but it's interesting, because I think as doctors, we became a doctor to help people. You went into the health industry to help people. But quite over time, I realized most of what I was taught is actually hurting people. And I certainly, for people who were acutely ill, and bad infections or bad cysts or ectopic pregnancies, there were interventions that we can do to help them. Mm-hmm. But once we didn't know how to prevent it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious, in your journey in the health industry, is going to a gym enough to heal us and make us healthy?
No, we can't. First of all, most people go to the gym because they're doing calories in, calories out. So that's never going to work, first and foremost. A foodie, or that's the nice name for a food addiction today, emotional eating, PTSD, whatever psychological issue is going on inside of us, just even depression from menopause, hormonal imbalance. These things will drive someone to the gym, but the gym alone doesn't fix any of it. Absolutely zero.
And a lot of people that go to the gyms are also taking supplemental products that make them look better and potentially lose weight in an unhealthy way.
Correct. Been there, done that too.
Well, that's advertisement for you.
Yeah.
Marketing for us to get to a place.
Yeah.
How do you think your relationship in all of this has come together to sort of share an idea that's helping more people?
Well, there's a lot to be said there too, but I do want to touch on one thing that you brought up about authority and ranking. So one of the very first programs I wrote is the Warrior program, and going from being a wounded warrior into being a victorious warrior. And where do we start with that? So it's mind, body, spirit. This has to align, number one. Number two, the second program I wrote immediately following that is called Untie the Lies. So we have our grandmother's voice goes on, we have our parents, and then we have our teachers, we have our coaches. I mean, some words can be really devastating to a human being to where now they feel unworthy and their body will manifest this illness inside of them because they don't feel loved. And I think that for men and women, we all have it. However, men react differently to it, which would be more of a gym thing. I'm going to go in, I'm going to get rid of my anger. Anger generates from your liver. So when you have agitation, you have menopause, a woman who's like psycho, right? They used to put menopausal women in insane asylums. They didn't even let them get through menopause, right? Like, oh, she's crazy, lock her up in hospitals and medicate them. But literally, it wasn't even the menopause wasn't the problem. It was the hormonal imbalance. So with that being said, going into the health industry and how it has affected us, when we reconnected, we were living on a love that was teenage years, right? So you're hot to trot, you're so excited, this is really not good to say, but I'm going to say it. When I was 15 years old, I was like, dude, I just want to have a baby with you. And he was like, no, never happening, right? And for me, it was the fairy tale. It was the dream. It was like waking up and having your children. And well, here we are all these years later,
My father said something to me too that caused me not to want to get anywhere near that. It might have been a threat. I won't go too far.
But don't you think that's our instinct, though?
Oh, absolutely. I'm pro it.
That is our instinct.
It is.
And we're actually broken our nature and
Yes.
instinct in living a life that isn't natural.
Correct, 100%. But he didn't feel that way. Being a military and a man of authority, that he's like, okay. So long story short, when
mental toughness is what it was.
Yeah. When we got to the point, our relationship was flourishing. He had asked me to marry him, and then we set the date. It was going very fast, but at times, as a woman, I was so insecure and felt, so out of shape. And I told him 100 times, I'm like, you don't want to marry me. I'm so broken. Like, I'm so broken. Nothing works, and everything's falling apart.
The clock was ticking, too. We don't have a whole lot of time left on this earth to be
And he's like,
around.
I love you. I love, and that
Yeah.
kind of goes to what you were saying. Is like, I feel like the biggest movement I've seen in the wellness is that people accept. They accept what they're told. They accept that their body is ill. I'm going to be ill. My grandmother had it. My mother had it. Right? Well, let's look at everybody's habits. No wonder you have it. You're not just DNA heavy.
We're manifesting it.
Yeah, there's only like 2 to 3% obesity gene in all the humans on the planet. That's nothing when you go out and you just walk down the street and look at how many obese people. We walk through every airport now and we're like, there's a liver screaming. There's a liver screaming.
Yeah. Everybody gets diagnosed.
But I will tell you, as far as our relationship goes and eating the same, building a marriage, the foundation of our belief system in what should be in our house, as far as like Kenneth was saying, like all the chemicals and cleaning products and laundry, all that stuff. And then to sit down on our Kiltz wooden platter with our Kiltz knives and, we just have our beef, our water, and our butter and salt, and that's it. And it's like, this is amazing. Like, there's no more frustration of who's doing the dishes, who's cooking, what's going to be made. I mean,
well,
people,
the nest is empty now too, so we're not trying to feed the rest of the household.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's beautiful.
Now
it's
we
beautiful.
just have four-legged critters begging us to eat.
They're the best. and what do you feed your four-legged critters?
Well, we feed them a lot of steak. but they do get a little fillers also with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them, and they're Shepherds and Malinois and Aussies.
beautiful.
Yeah, so they're big. And then, of course, we got even bigger with the horses.
I love horses.
Me too.
Yeah.
You will until you have to
Geronimo.
clean.
You need to
after.
come out and
Yeah,
ride.
I've mucked. I've done it.
You
Done
need
it,
to
done
come
it,
and
done it.
ride.
Come and
Yeah.
visit us anytime.
Yeah.
But as far as our relationship goes, we have such a great tolerance level with each other. We're best friends. We have this level of, like, when we go golfing, we're laughing. It's not like, I mean, sometimes you might swing wrong and go, oh, that kind of hurt a little bit, but it's nothing. I mean, I couldn't even walk the course. That's how bad it was. And my swing was, what's the right word? Interrupted. I can't think of the right word right now.
Off plane.
Yeah, it
whatever
was
you wanna
so
call it.
bad. Over time from a sick liver and obesity is how that got that way. So, of course, here we are back where we should be, and we feel fantastic.
So the liver becomes damaged, which allows the damage to circulate through the rest of your body, in essence. The liver can't do its work anymore.
Correct, because now we're putting out the cell. There's some cells that the liver will recycle if it feels it's usable, and then the rest, we know where they go. Your poop is just dead red blood cells. So this is a touchy spot for carnivores because they feel like, oh my gosh, if I do that, I'm going to have explosive diarrhea again and whatever. Your body needs to eliminate that. That's not a bad thing.
It happens.
It would only be a bad thing. Let's just say that if it was 8 times in a day and you have diarrhea and you're sick. Okay, to have explosive diarrhea or a liver dump from higher levels of fat, that is a bonus. And I wish people would embrace that, because having a bad gallbladder is because you didn't have enough fat,
Yeah,
right? So we need to get that slush moving. And in the beginning, that is common. It happens. It's not IBS. It doesn't have anything to do with Crohn's disease or gout or anything else. It's literally your body flushing the toilet.
Although those issues are very common in the non-carnivore world,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they're eliminated or reduced significantly in the carnivore world.
100%.
And you had, let's see, adenoids, tonsils,
Appendix.
gallbladder are all
Thyroid.
basically and thyroid, goitrogenic foods.
Yes.
They're all plant-based diseases.
Yep.
And obviously, we're here because of plants in some ways, but now we're learning something that's new and different. Tell us how you're sharing with the world something that the modern medical system is not.
I am sharing and hoping to bring one person at a time. And most importantly is I want people to realize that this is a community that supports each other through that process. And it's not going to be the same for every single female or every single male. However, when we can get out there and heal one person at a time, or at least make their life more comfortable, right? Just get them back on their feet and help them get their life back. My goal ultimately, because people are like, oh, how many years are you going to do this? Or how many years are you going to be able to teach? If my teaching years come to an end, I will do consultations. I will write books. Whatever's next is what will happen, right? But if we don't take the authority of our own mouth and put in our body what it needs and was designed to, I think you kind of know I have a wilderness mind. So my brain always goes back to, oh, no, you don't understand. I have to have chocolate with my cycle. I'm like, there was no chocolate trees. Women didn't complain of addiction or carbohydrates or I'm craving. Please tell me where 200,000 years ago a woman goes, oh, I'm craving what? What would that be? Maybe sex, because they had a lot more sex than they did food. And now they have food and no sex.
And a lot more babies.
A lot more babies. Thank God. Because I wouldn't be
Absolutely.
here if I wouldn't have had some strong generation behind me. No, it's good. It's so good. And so I just hope to bring life back to people so that when somebody sees them, and this is a huge thing that I love, is when I get a text message, a phone call, a message or whatever, oh my gosh, I ran into this person, they said I was glowing. And then I look so good. It's amazing how many women have found the love for themselves, the love within them, and now it's just blooming and overflowing.
The one thing too is everybody refers to this as a diet. It's not a diet; it's a lifestyle,
Yeah.
and that's the whole thing. When are you going to quit doing this, or are you going to go back to doing it? No, I made a decision in my life to change my life. This is the way I eat. all the time.
And we can add also to my list of the things you just named off, histamine issues, horribly, fibro as well, neuropathy, Morton's neuropathy, loss of teeth, big, vision. My vision was almost gone. Went to the doctor. They said, there's nothing wrong with your eyes. I'm like, yeah, there is. I can't see.
What do we need to do to help the medical system change?
Oh, gosh.
Well, let's...
I would change the medical system the same way I changed school system. It starts at home. You have to be in charge first. Don't buy everything that you're told just because and again, neither one of us are saying anything offensive to a doctor, but the letters before or the letters after does not necessarily make what they're just teaching what came out of school, which was taught, under administration. What does that look like in your home? If it's not working, it's not serving you, and it's not making you feel good, stop. Just stop.
Well, one of my experiences too, one of the doctors I was seeing while I was still employed for my high blood pressure is while you're sitting in the waiting room, you see these people come in with these big black suitcases and on wheels, and they're basically just peddling more
Drugs,
medications for whatever ails that person. And I thought, this is not right. I mean, if it's vitamins, okay, I could deal with that. But this is just masking what the real problems are. So
what I think you're doing is helping become the new healthcare system by I call social media is the new social medicine. Yeah. Really being able to connect with people to learn how to change their lives.
And that's an interesting subject.
Is to be an example of what you're saying. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest way to communicate anything.
Well, they've always said
Practice
the greatest sermons
preach.
Aren't talked, they're walked.
Yeah.
Right? You got to walk your talk. I was just going to tell him something about, when I was kicking all this off, I was going through some new certification programs, bringing everything current. And I did like 8 classes working with seniors, bodybuilders, weight loss, weight gain, several different things. And one of them included functional nutrition. And literally getting the certificate, I just couldn't believe that I actually followed through with the payments. I literally was going to pull out because I'm like, this is not what I believe in. But I did it anyways, and I completed it. And there's no way, even as a functional nutritionist or functional medicine, they're on the path, but they're not there because someone is still governing and writing what they have to teach.
It's a license that basically gives you rules.
Yes.
Based on what you've learned from those who have higher rank.
Yes.
Essentially.
Right back there.
Or they have a government name or something of that nature. That.
Where did we get advice on health 500,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago?
I agree with you. I believe that we actually know deep down inside of us what we're supposed to eat. Yeah. I really do. And coming from a vegan who never touched meat, like it really just used to gross me out. I stopped and untied that lie because it made my mother grossed out. And that's where that voice goes on. And you heard her say, oh no, you're going to get salmonella. Oh no, you're going to get worms. Oh no, you're going to get botulism. And literally we didn't even eat leftovers because she was so freaked out over what was in the fridge, right? Like we threw all the food away.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it makes no sense, but that's what's in your brain. And it's like a database in a computer. You need to wipe the slate clean. And then if you have to do your own experimenting or find people that you could trust, like yourself, and get in that and start educating yourself to be able to change this world, because I'm just a little teeny tiny piece of sand on that big beach, right? But one little voice connected with another voice and another one, eventually we will be global and people will catch on and they're going to see the difference and they're going to be like, I need to do that.
I find carnivores are so passionate about sharing the story and positive about it rather than naysayers in general. And that's what I think has happened as a carnivore. Your brain works better. You see life better. Where do you put faith with food? Do you think that's an important part of this puzzle?
I do believe that faith is completely connected to our food. I had another client yesterday. She's like, yeah, I don't do any pork because, in the Bible it says pork is the unclean food, so on and so forth. And I said, and it's a long story, but I said, think of all the other things that you're doing in life that are also unclean, and you don't seem to care about those things, right? So if you're under the blood of Christ, you're already forgiven. You are within you able to make those decisions. And it's literally, what do you think your body would do if it actually had everything it needed? Not supplementing what you think it needs in your brain. And you probably know this as well, like the difference between your heart and your head is like 18 inches. And if you run with the wrong one, you're going to end up in a lot of trouble. I think we really need to step back and say, if I lived in Arizona, what food would I have had available 200 years ago? What would I have had?
There aren't many civilizations from Arizona.
Exactly.
Indians.
Right?
But they were, if you look at the Anastasi, they abandoned things.
Right.
Something must have, whatever the temperature, weather, environment was at the time, it changed.
But what made it change? Man came in and revolutionized it, brought in the agricultural, brought in the water, developed the cities, and now we are flourishing with farms and, being able to grow wheat and corn and all these other things. But they didn't do this for the health of our bodies. They did it for the money.
And we're sort of fallen into a comfort crisis where comfort is the most important thing, and ease, right?
Right.
Amazon is it, right? All you got to do is call them and it comes the next day.
It's or the
you don't
same
have to
day.
go out and get it. Yeah.
DoorDash.
So I think our food system is quite amazing in this world. Our ability to feed people is like, and famine was much more common. Certainly wartime, and there were a lot of wars out there. We've done a good job of feeding people. Have we overdone it and maybe misjudge the way to feed most of those people?
Mass production, that people put out the product and there's much of it. And that comes with all the issues of processed foods.
Yeah.
And I can't believe some of the things that are happening now, genetically changed foods where there's going to be no meat. It's going to be a plant-based piece of something that looks like a piece of chicken. That is like
and it'll smell
to me.
and taste like it, but it won't be it.
Yeah.
Why would you want
just
to
insane
eat,
to me.
smell, and taste something that's like the real thing, but have a masqueraded one? That doesn't make sense either.
What's our ancient way?
Which part of what we should eat? We need to get out and hunt it and eat it.
Hunt it and eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another long story, but I ended up on the shoes of needing some assistance during the death of Eric. And I actually wrote to the governor of Idaho, and I was furious because when you are giving a WIC program or a SNAP program, you can buy any type of energy drink, you could buy sugar, you could buy candy, you could do all this stuff, but you can't get diapers for your child. You cannot buy vitamins or supplements. There's a limited amount of money that will go towards meat. They'll allow cheeses. That's one thing that's good, in the dairy, but how good is that for you? In my belief, it's not really super good for any of us. We are not infants up to 5 years of age in the state of Idaho. That's what they call an infant, and that's where they feel that you should be given the dairy products to help, grow you. We're not babies. So we need to be off the milk, as the Bible says, and on the meat.
Yeah.
So that's where faith really comes into play here. I believe that we already know what we're supposed to do, but we need to be still and know. It's not listen to all the background noise. Kenneth always says, like, man, everything on the TV, you're trying to be a really good carnivore, but then there's like all this dripping Burger King or whatever, just tons of marketing. That is not what we need to see on our televisions. We need to see how to cure illness, disease, cancer.
Would you say carnivore is a significant assist to healing these diseases?
Yes.
Is a plant-based diet the cause of these diseases?
Yes.
I agree, yes.
how do we inspire those that are listening, watching, or going to share it with someone that's listening or watching to get to that next step?
My words of wisdom, and I'm just a little voice over here. I'm not a big wig or anything.
I've never known Lisa to have a little voice, by the way.
No.
Okay, that's what my fifth
Generally
grade teacher says. Let's not go there.
You usually know she's in the room.
We love
Anyways,
it too.
I really believe that it's a transition. And even though I may have the personality that says, okay, today's the day, I'm done. You know, like I quit coffee. I haven't had it, haven't thought about it. That's not on my mind. But it was when I was ready to do it, I took control, and that was the end of it. Or maybe I was spiritually led to, which is what I believe. And in that moment, when I'm working with my clients, I say, you know, I have vegan clients that are now full carnivores, and it didn't take long, maybe 2 months, 8 weeks, something. They come over and they're like, no, I said, look, I'll work with you regardless of your circumstances. I will help educate you, teach you, show you. And then from there, you decide when, you decide where, and you decide how. So I think we really need to, when we talk to the public, it is very important to remind them it's not always all or nothing. Sometimes we need to find that footing and get our foot. And then, you know, I don't know if you've ever gone mountain climbing or backpacking or anything, but there's always a baseline, and then you move up and there's a baseline and nobody gets left behind. That's part of my coaching program. I absolutely believe that we don't leave anyone behind. We work with them where they are. We bring them forward, teach them, educate them, show them the documentaries, show them where scientists lied for years, being paid by the FDA and the drug, the big pharma. Show those dots and let them start making the connection so that their body goes, oh, wow, I'm going to get meat. This is an awesome thing.
So we're here to empower our brothers and sisters, men and women of all ages, in order to heal themselves, that they can help heal their brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
Where can people get more information, Lisa?
Lifebacksystem.com, and you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Coach Lisa Pickart.
And for the men, what can we do to help the men maintain their health or become healthy again?
Well, Ken has stepped up and helped me out a lot with that. He's not quite ready to take on a whole entire program, but we're working on it. We have the foundation of it poured, and we're ready to launch that. I work with men now and women, and I really love to work with men and women in one household and then help them with their children. It's amazing to me. I talk to 48-year-old women that have 22-year-old children, and they're like, oh, no, you don't understand. And I said, no, I do understand. You buy the groceries, your children eat what you put in their mouth. And if they don't want to, they can go earn money and buy them junk food. But you have to, at some point, draw the line in the sand and say, look, this is how we are going to eat, because I don't want you to suffer like I am right now.
I imagine at some point, if you're hungry enough, you'll eat that meat.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
We've done a couple cooking things, too, now that she's done. She's aptly named Ken's Carnivore Kitchen, so
Well, I want to watch more of that, because I think...
Well, this is the new thing for me, too. I had all these other recipes in my head. Now I'm exploring different avenues in the carnivore world. One of your last guests there, Chris, I've watched his channel. He has some good things. But I pick and choose different things, and I may alter it a little bit more.
Ultimately, there's a bit of entertainment to all of this, because when we're entertained and educated at the same time, and it's not a hierarchy like medicine is, but it's on equal grounds, right? We're all working together. We're out there in the field together, and you don't have any access to the rank, but was rank and file, right?
The file is the masses.
The masses are there,
Yeah.
and we're here to teach, educate the masses to healing on a meat-based diet, which makes each and every one of you, all of us, the masters of our lives.
You know, Dr. Kiltz, if you just triggered a thought in my head. If you were to take that back to hunting days, right?
Yeah.
A master hunter or the leader of that tribe who was in charge of, he just had the gift, right? Like he's a magnet to animals. He taught the tribe so that the next hunters could come up, right? And then they could feed their family. And, it's fact known that if a man shall not work, he shall not eat, right? So if we work for that and we learn to not be lazy and not be sedentary, we can eliminate diseases just by being active, just getting up, and then start with the food.
And the number of meals per day, do you think that's important? We should do 1 meal a day, 5 meals a day. What are your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts on that is that we are individuals and we need to address that individually. There's no two clones of us. No matter, you have 7 men, they're still men, but they're not the same. You have 7 women, some have babies, some didn't have babies, they've got diseases. We're all different. And I really believe that when it comes to eating, again, going back, I don't think we had food accessible. You didn't walk in a kitchen. So if you made a harvest, and let's just say you were a tribe and you had 20 or 30 people in it, hypothetical, maybe only 8, and you harvested a bison. There was 1 liver, 1 heart. So did everybody eat liver all winter? No, there was 1 liver, right? So maybe everybody got a little slices, or maybe they dried it and then they saved it throughout the time frame. But the bottom line is, if you really think about it, we are a predator and yet we are prey. Mm-hmm. So if I want my meat to be safe, where is it going to be?
My belly.
In our stomach, correct. So I think that we feasted and not famine, but we had a break. We took time and we fasted, and then that allowed us to last for a longer period of time. And as we're going through the process of the liver loves when you digest and rest. That's when it's at its happiest state. And when it's constantly struggling and working like that overworked dodge, we got a problem, right? Then it wants to shut down.
Our bowels are full of plants since the day you're born to the day you die.
Yes.
The liver has never stopped. Basically, our gut needs to empty. And I think feasting and fasting is just natural. Lions don't eat 3 meals a day.
No.
They eat when they're hungry.
That's it. And it's not every day.
Right.
Yeah. And that's and they work hard to get that food.
Sure
it's not easy. I think we're just on the easy. We want it easy.
And I feel like the critics out there go, oh yeah, well, you're not a lion, and if you were, you would have to get out there. But they all died. There's all these dead animals because they didn't have food and water and this and that. And I said, well, a person who has like 35-45% body fat can actually go a year with no food, but you can't go a year without water. Okay, I'm not going to argue that one. But you have enough fat for famine. And it even says, as the years come, if we hit famine, you shall be prepared. Because our bodies were designed to have the higher levels inside of it. But it doesn't mean that we should take it to obesity, to unhealthy places where we are starting to get ill.
And I think what you're sharing, though, is by going on a proper human diet and eating a meat-centric diet and minimizing and or eliminating the plants at all, your body will naturally find its proper set point.
Correct.
In an environment that you're living. And we are built to get fat fast because that's survival. I always say the get fat gene was the reproductive gene. Without that, those women that can get fat and survive the migration, hibernation, gestation, or famines, we would not be here.
Correct.
So there's nothing pathologic about an obese person. They don't have anything wrong with them.
Right.
They don't have ghrelin wrong with them or leptin wrong with them. Nothing like that. They're actually physiologically built and biologically built to be there and to overeat, hyperphagic. But we, as you said, we didn't have access to the cocoa plant or the coconut plant or the bananas of any significance or frequency ever.
Not unless
you didn't even have a fridge or a stove or there was nothing like that we were surviving on. And that is the key right there. Is it's like, what does your body really need to survive? That's a healthy mode, not starvation mode, survival mode.
Although, don't you notice that people say I'm starving and they just had breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Because of what they ate.
It is.
The meal before, it wasn't substantial to sustain them throughout the rest of the day.
Definitely not nutrient dense.
Toxic dense.
Very.
Very toxic dense. Heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine all come from plants. The only toxic chemical I think comes from a ribeye steak is that you become a lion.
Yes. And you either be eaten
or
you eat them.
That's right. I always say a lion that doesn't want to eat meat becomes meat.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, it's really a pleasure having both of you
Always.
here today. Yeah. And I'm just so grateful to both of you. We're learning all together. And where are you going to be next out there in the community?
We will be in Seattle.
Yeah.
And then I'm working on Boston.
Nice.
And then Syracuse. So hopefully be on a few more things with you and they're talking to help spread the word. I do want to say one thing, that we are extremely grateful for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And it's literally powerful the way that people gravitate to that positivity that you share. You bring so much spiritual life and goodness and love that a lot of people are wanting to be dogmatic and maybe a little more conflictive towards each other. We're all in this together, and I think it's way more important for us to lock hands, lock elbows, mountain climb together. We're going to have the good times and the bad times. We're going to learn, we're going to educate, but sharing the way and I always say, people like to share the wealth. I think we need to share the health. So sharing the wealth is great, but it will always follow if you're healthy. If you're not going to have it anyways.
And the universe is abundant and,
yes.
and very prosperous.
Absolutely.
In so many ways. And I really am grateful because this community of carnivore and ketovore, it is open to everyone, whether you're carnivore or herbivore.
Yes.
All open to everyone in this process. And we meet so many amazing people when you come to these meetups, wherever they are. But even just coming to my crazy 5 a.m. time, but we're working on others.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I know. And I do know. We're working now with Dr. Vasquez, Dr. Nelson, to help build that. And I know you're there, and we love when you're there. I always want to make sure Lisa get in, but it is important that everyone and anyone with a story, if they're suffering and they want to heal, carnivore is like the most amazing therapeutic plan. But as Ken said, it's a lifestyle. Yeah. And cooking with Ken, is that the
Ken's Carnivore Kitchen?
Ken's Carnivore Kitchen. Be there. And Lisa, what's your
Life
platform?
Back System. Coach
Life
Lisa Pickart.
Back System. So check it out. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Really appreciate it. God bless and much love.
Thank you, Dr. Kiltz.
Always my
We love
pleasure.
you.
We love you, too.